on stages such as Carnegie Hall in New York, the Berliner Philharmonic, the Moscow International Performing Arts Center, and I asked him before how to pronounce this, Kyushu Performing Arts Center in Japan. He has added his vast abilities of bringing pure high tones into emotionally eternal and ephemeral soundscapes to works composed by Bach, Mozart, Ellington, and Berio, and also performed works written specifically for him by over 50 international composers, and himself written many of his own concerts. His music has been described as exceptional and charged with the most extreme virtuosity and multiphonic possibilities. He's been called a champion of the soprano saxophone and compared to some of the greatest jazz artists of all time. As representatives of the Swedish Fulbright Alumni Association, where Anders Paulsson belongs after having been a Fulbright grantee at the Manhattan School of Music in New York, we would argue that it's his long-time creative engagement with the wider world that his music reaches yet another level. Because Anders has performed not only for Nelson Mandela at his Nobel concert, but also written the celebration suite to celebrate 20 years of South African democracy performed at the Soweto Theatre in Johannesburg. Anders has not only made music to praise a marine ecological sanctuary in the Philippines for the Swedish King's 60th birthday, but he's also immersed himself in a unique collaboration, somebody else wrote this, so, in a unique collaboration with indigenous populations in Hawaii to musically recreate their Kumulipo creation story, thank you, with the Coral Guardians Initiative, which he helped to lead. He collaborates with leading scientists at the Stockholm Resilience Center and Conservation International using music to create an emotional bond between ecological resilience and human action. Anders Paulsson has compared the force of music to that of the oceans around us, as a connecting bond across humans and nature. In the world of today, we need more connection and understanding. We need more life, music, water, soprano saxophones, and coral reefs. We need more immensely skilled artists with visions of society. We need more Anders Paulsson.
So it's me now?
It's you now.
Good evening, fellow Fulbrighters, Mr. and Ms. Ambassador, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I feel very grateful and honored to be with you here tonight, and especially so to be selected for this award. When I first came to the Fulbright Commission here in Stockholm in 1983, I was told that chances for a musician to get a Fulbright grant were very slim. Nevertheless, I insisted because I had a very strong vision of complementing my 6 years of classical saxophone training with a master's degree in jazz performance at the Manhattan School of Music. So I crafted a very ambitious application. January the 2nd, 1984 was a very happy day, as I received a notification from the Fulbright Commission that I had been granted the ITT International Fellowship that would cover my tuition for 2 years at Manhattan School of Music and also my living expenses during that time. Coming from a working class background, I could not have realized this dream otherwise. In New York City, I lived at International House, which is a residence for foreign graduate students. And that alone widened my international horizon because we were over 100 different nationalities living and eating together under the same roof. At Manhattan School of Music, the teachers were excellent. My classmates were brilliant, and some of them were already famous. And it was a very supportive environment that encouraged me to crystallize a vision of what kind of musician I wanted to be. It also inspired me to choose the soprano saxophone as my favorite instrument, since it had a sound that I had been dreaming of since I was a teenager. Upon graduation, I was granted an extended practical training work visa that enabled me to stay on for 5 more years to play concerts all over the United States. And that in turn gave me the momentum to continue and play concerts worldwide. And as Risa already told the story, I don't have to tell you the story. So this Fulbright experience also expanded my understanding of music as a tool for international bridge building and reconciliation. So for example, I'll tell the South Africa story. I was commissioned to compose a celebration suite for the 20th anniversary of democracy in South Africa. And this was for a multi-ethnic youth orchestra. In fact, 20 years earlier, I had the honor of performing for Nelson Mandela after he received the Nobel Peace Prize. And it was so nice because he came backstage afterwards to greet the musicians, and he shook our hands, and he said he felt very encouraged by the music. And as I was facing this multi-ethnic youth orchestra with youngsters, all of the born-free generation, I quoted Nelson Mandela saying the same thing, because that orchestra was such a beautiful example of a multi-ethnic society, a rainbow nation, what Nelson Mandela and his colleagues had been dreaming of for so many years. So this celebration suite is built on African freedom songs combined with elements of jazz and classical music in the spirit of reconciliation. And it was premiered in Soweto and at the Berlin Philharmonie in Europe, and also here the Royal Castle in Stockholm, and in Amsterdam Concertgebouw on Nelson Mandela Day. You sort of stole my speech.
I'll tell you that what was written for the motivation stole most of my speech. So.
Okay, so but
You can repeat it, it's okay.
It's okay. So I want to tell the story of the Choral Guardians, because it's another example of the power for social transformation that is in music. And in 2011, on my 50th birthday, actually, I decided I wanted to do something meaningful instead of just having a midlife crisis. So I founded the Choral Guardians project together with scientists from the Stockholm Resilience Center. And the goal is to combine music and science to raise awareness of the world's coral reefs and what's needed to safeguard them for future generations. And so far we've done Choral Guardians events in the Philippines, in Hawaii, in Zanzibar, and Costa Rica. Many scientists today speak of a concept called back to the future management, meaning harnessing the wisdom and the holistic perspective of indigenous cultures and combining that with leading edge science of today in order to foster better stewardship of our life-supporting ecosystems. So, in order to highlight the beauty and wisdom of indigenous culture, I went to Hawaii to study the native Hawaiian creation chant that actually starts with, and born was the coral polyp as the basic unit of life, followed by a procession of species, plants, animals, and humans that are all to be regarded and revered as our parents and ancestors. So I composed this choral symphony with the indigenous chant and Hawaii Symphony Orchestra for the International Coral Reef Symposium. Anyway, I'll be short. I just want to finish by saying that the journey of bridge building continues. Next month, I'm going with Conservation International to West Africa, to Liberia, to work with the Liberian musicians for the Blue Ocean Conference. This is hosted by the Swedish Embassy also, and SIDA. And in May, I'll be meeting with Madeleine Albright, because she's hosting a children's charity in San Francisco, and I'll be there to play. So anyway, this amazing life journey would not have been possible without the benign support of the Fulbright Commission. So my deepest gratitude to the Fulbright program. Thank you.
Whoa, oh, the award.
You have a special pen.
Oh, thank you so much.
We also have flowers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Handmade. By one of our board members, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. She just had a baby.
Yeah, I think, yeah, maybe that makes sense. we'll let the alum be in the center.